Many have been asking questions about Obed Vargas, the new prospect coming out of the Sounders Academy. So today, we decided to have an exclusive interview with Obed Vargas himself. Hi, if you're new here, I'm Filippo, and welcome to TMTV, and welcome to another interview here in the channel. Obed Vargas is a Mexican-American dual national that plays for the Sounders at age 16 and has been lately starting and getting a lot of traction earlier this season. With that said, everyone, many people have been asking and having a lot of interest on the player, so we decided to bring him along so you can get to know him a little bit better. We'll be talking about the Sounders, their system, the US men's national team, El Tri, and much more. Before we start, make sure to hit that like button. I won't be requesting during the video. With that said, everyone, let's play the intro and let's bring in Obed Vargas. All right, everyone, today we have a new kid. I'm going to call you a kid because you're still 16.
Yeah.
Even though you're accomplishing much more than I ever had in soccer right there at that age. But Obed Vargas here at the channel, new kid that's playing for the Sounders and actually starting for the Sounders lately, and been in talks with the US men's national team camp, with El Tri, all of that. So we're going to talk about all of this today here in TMTV. Obed, thank you very much. How are you doing?
Thank you. Good, and you?
Doing good too. So just for starters, so the viewers can get to know a little bit more about you. You were born in Alaska, correct?
Yes, I was born in Anchorage, Alaska.
Yeah, that's a little bit different, right?
Yeah. It's not many soccer players from there.
No. How did you start playing soccer? How did that come along?
My dad, he loved the sport. He's from Mexico, and he moved down there. I don't know why, but I grew up down there, and through my dad, I played the soccer.
Did you play club soccer or academy soccer in Alaska, or that was when you moved to Seattle? Or walk us through, how did it work? You were in Alaska. You obviously played soccer there as a kid.
Yeah.
I've never been to Alaska, so the way I usually see it is just there's a lot of ice and snow. But you started playing there, and then when did you move to Seattle, the academy? You're still young, so how did that process go? What was the order?
Well, I started playing soccer when I was like 3. I mean, obviously before that, I like kicked the ball around at my house with my dad, and then I joined like a rec team at 3. And then I don't remember when I joined my first comp team. There's a couple clubs down there, like competitive clubs. I guess they would call them like travel teams. There's like 4 or 5 in the state, and I joined one of those. I played there for up until I was like 10. Then I moved to another club down there, and I played up until I was 13, until I moved down here when I was 14 and joined the Sounders Academy, and obviously with the second team and now with the first team.
Now, when you were a kid too, and I'm going to go back to that because I just find it quite interesting how you were in a place where maybe soccer is not overly popular. I'm not so sure. I might be saying something stupid, but I don't think it is, right, in Alaska. And you still manage at a young age to make to the Sounders Academy, and now the senior team, which is a very prestigious team in MLS, right? It's not a new franchise. It's a very well-established one. And maybe in recent years, at least, the most successful one, which is something I want to talk about with you as well. But here's my question towards that is the competitive level of where you played before moving to the Sounders in Alaska, was it competitive, or it was more because you played maybe pickup, or your dad had some influence?
It was competitive to a certain extent. I played a couple years up, so I would play against I'm an 05. I would play against 03s. I tried to play against 02s. I tried to play against men. I played men's league when I was like 14, 15. So I always played up. Like, I always try to challenge myself. I wasn't playing against kids my age. I knew that was not going to help me, not going to make me improve. So I always played up. So I guess you could say it was competitive to an extent, but once you hit 15, college players, they leave, like they go out to college. There's not much you can do. There's not like an established league with like 10 teams. There's only like 4 teams, and one lives in Fairbanks, which is like 3-hour drive, something like that. And so I only played like 2 teams every weekend, the same team basically every weekend.
But how much did your dad play a role on pushing you to play with older kids and even adults?
He was the coach of the team. He was the coach of my team. So I played up on the 04 team, and then he played that 04 team up in an 03 league. And then sometimes in that 03 league there was like 02s. So we found a way to make it competitive for us. So it wasn't really a problem for me. We would lose games like 8-0, but it was the competitiveness that he wanted to implement in all of us, not just me, all my teammates. He wanted us to strive for more and not just be satisfied with playing other kids our age.
I asked that because my dad is Brazilian. Well, I am too. I was born there actually, but I moved here at a young age. And my dad too, when I would play soccer, he would always throw me, "Oh, you want to play with adults? Go play with adults. Who cares?" And then you see some parents sometimes baby their kids. They have to play with kids their size so they don't get injured.
Yes.
I understand it. It makes sense, right? You don't want your kids to get injured, but for a soccer development standpoint, you're playing with grown man, higher pace game and everything. It plays a big role. And I think that's something we're going to talk about right here in this interview very soon, because your transition to the professional level, especially in the recent games for the Sounders that I've been following, you just seem like you're an adult playing among a bunch of grown men, right? It didn't seem like you were a kid out there, even though you're 16. Which brings me to the first question. Last season, when you were 15, you played in USL over 20 games, correct?
Yeah.
How was that experience to start with?
Obviously it's very new for me. When I made my debut, it seemed pretty normal. Like the stands were empty, there's no one. It just seemed like another game for me. And then as I started playing more and more, I started to realize things that I needed to work on or improve or stop even doing. Like I need to stop doing these things that are not helping me. And so just that being able to play so many games helped me just improve throughout the whole season and got me prepared for where I am now.
Now, when you were in USL, I personally didn't follow it very closely. Didn't follow at all, actually. There, what position did you play the most there? Did you play more as a 6, as an 8?
I kind of got moved around a lot. I played 6, 8 some games. Sometimes they put me as like a pocket 10. It was they moved me around. They tried me in different positions. They got me used to different things because they didn't know essentially where I was going to play with the first team. Like if I want to break into the first team, I have to be able to play different positions. There's a lot of players, like quality players like JP, Christian, Nico, that all play in the midfield. So if I want to break into a midfield with all those players, I need to be able to play different positions and be adaptable. So it was really good for me to be able to play so many different positions in the USL level.
Now, especially under Brian Schmetzer, right? Because he loves playing players in different roles. And like we see that a lot with Christian Roldan. He plays so many different positions for the team. Yeah. So continuing with club soccer, you move on to the USL from last season to MLS. I want to talk about Brian Schmetzer's system very soon. But before I get to that, what difference did you see between the leagues? Obviously, I'm assuming you've noticed a technical gap, right? Probably better players in MLS. I would assume that. But is the pace of the game quicker, or that's somewhat the physicality? Is that kind of similar?
I would say like the pace is similar. The thing I see here more is teams are smarter. They don't press when they don't have to. Like in the USL, everyone wants to go 100 miles per hour every single time. They want to press, they want to play. Or some teams, they just want to boot the ball long. They just kick the ball long every single time. So it makes the game super dirty. I don't know, like ugly. And here, like teams tend to play out of the bag. They establish themselves in a block, and they'll watch you just play back and forth throughout your center backs, and they'll pick their moments to choose. To pick the moments to press. So for me, it's just that tenacity and smartness to know when I go with my teammates, when we stay, and that's probably the biggest difference for me.
Now, did you have to learn that, or something that just came natural to you as you arrived in MLS?
I mean, my teammates, so many talented guys. Like, how could I? They just tell me a few words, and I already know what they're gonna do. They really like coach me on the field, so it wasn't really that hard. They helped me in trainings, we practice it, so I think it's pretty easy for me to catch on to that.
I think it came natural to you, and you just don't want to say it. Because I mean, you haven't been there for long enough, but you seem pretty comfortable in the team already. There's only so much also they can teach you, right? They can tell you, but if you don't get it, you don't get it, and quickly clearly you got it. Otherwise, they wouldn't be starting you. Even over certain players like Danny Leyva that has been there for longer, right? Even though he's still young as well. But one thing I wanted to talk to you about is Brian Schmetzer. He's been around for the Sounders for a while there, been very successful. I hope I didn't butcher his name. I talked to you about how I sometimes struggle with names. How would you describe his system? Because I've heard from many people that it's more of a free roll system, right? He allows players to be creative, or is it more of a pragmatic system, more structured? What's the way you see it? And I know you don't have much experience with different professional coaches. I know that. But so far, what did you get from it?
I think it's a little bit in between. Like final third, you have the freedom to do whatever you want. I mean, he obviously gives us ideas. He gives us, he calls it the prime assist zone, where he wants us to get into and hit crosses from. We have some freedom in there, but he also gives us tools and stuff to like help us. And then he uses a lot of tactics, I would say, in terms of pressing and building out. But that's always up to the player what they feel like on the pitch. If they feel like it's not working, you have the freedom to change it and try something else or experience something new. So it's a little bit in between, I would say.
Yeah, I was always interested in how he works the team, because the Sounders found a way to be consistently good. And even though they have good players, you see many teams with good players that have those ups and downs. Yeah. So there's a good coaching going on there. Something that he's doing is right. And I agree with that. It seems like to me that on the ball, he gives you guys a lot of freedom to be yourself on the ball. Like when you're on the ball and the players to kind of figure out on their own, and he trusts the guys that he puts in the field. One thing I want to state the Sounders real quick is this season, the CONCACAF Champions League, right? How many away games have you played so far? You played one away game, right?
Myself or the team?
Yeah, yourself.
I played in Honduras and in RSL.
Okay, so you played the game in Honduras, so that's an away game. There's always the talk of like what was the main difference you've noticed from playing in Honduras and playing in MLS in the United States? Because that is something that we've been noticing with the national team level, right? When they go play away, it's a different beast, and when they play at home, we get our wins for the most time. How did that impact you? That it was against Montagua, right?
Yeah, Montagua,
yes. How was that game?
The funny thing was there was no fans. There was no one in the stands, so it just felt like another training session. It felt like another training session. I'm gonna be honest. It was like I like having fans in the stands. It pumps me up. Even if they're not supporting us, it makes it feel like an actual game. It creates the atmosphere. And then when there's no fans, I just feel like it's not a training session.
Do you play? Would you say you play better with fans, even if they're against you?
I've only played in front of fans that are against me, like in MLS or in, like first team twice.
Anywhere.
I would say it's the same. I think I'll play better at home, though. I think I would play better at home.
More comfortable.
Yeah. The fans are always with you, you know?
Yeah, you sound like a 25-year-old player. but before we move on from the Sounders to the United States and Mexico that I want to talk about, is there any player that you'd say helps you the most there? Any veteran? Jordan Morris, Christian Roldan, João Paulo, Rui Diaz?
Probably Nico, I would say. If I had to name someone, but all of them, JP, Christian, Yamar, Raul, they all help me a lot before games, during trainings. They're always trying to give me, like, tips and stuff. So, all of them, really.
Now, Obed, moving on to United States and Mexico, this dual national war that's been going on between U.S. men's national team and El Tri of so many players. We've seen Julian Araujo pick Mexico, David Ochoa pick Mexico, Ricardo Pepi pick the United States, Jonathan Gonzalez pick Mexico 3 years ago, 4 years ago. In a recent interview, you said that when you were a kid, you were definitely more towards Mexico because, I mean, your dad grew up watching El Tri and showing you El Tri, and I'm sure your dad is a very passionate Mexican soccer fan, and he most certainly still is a fan of El Tri. But then you said after joining the academy, being in the United States, growing up here, you're kind of like in between both. So I'm not going to ask you which one you're going to pick because that would be a stupid question for me. But what I was going to ask you more is this: growing up with your dad, did you was Liga MX maybe the league you watched the most? And if
Yeah.
yes, what club does you and your dad follow the most there?
Yeah, we watched Liga MX more than any other league, and we would support Monarcas Morelia until they got bought.
Mm-hmm.
They got this continued, I guess.
The franchise, I guess, right? Because they changed the whole system there from promotion relegation.
I mean, the Monarcas Morelia, they were in Morelia, so they were in the city, and basically the whole team got bought and moved to a different city.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't support that team anymore because it's in a different city. It's basically a different team now. Like we don't see it as the same team. We want to
Who are
support.
they now?
They're in Mazatlan.
Mm.
So we support the team that is from Morelia.
Mm-hmm.
And
So, do you
they
still
only
watch Liga MX?
no.
No. Oh.
I'll watch Liga MX when we play like Leon. I'll
Mhm.
watch their games, or when we play another Mexican league team, then I'll watch their games in Liga MX. But like I used to, no, I barely watch the Mexican league anymore.
Now, in terms of growing up, obviously, would you say that the reason you're torn or divided right now between the U.S. and Mexico is because you grew up in the U.S. most likely?
Yeah, and yeah, probably yeah.
Yeah,
And
and
I've been to U.S. youth national team camps,
Mhm.
and they've treated me so well. Like the opportunity, I can see that it's there for me. If I were to keep going with the U.S., they would give me the opportunity. So
Mhm.
that's why I don't want to say no to them, because they've always like had confidence in me and supported me.
Now, you played for the U.S. Youth? We followed
Yeah.
that recently. Have
Mhm.
you ever been into a Mexico camp,
No,
L3 camp?
I've never
Have
been
they
to.
ever been in touch?
Not
No,
really.
not yet.
No.
So far, I mean, you're breaking through MLS at age 16, so
Yeah.
watch out for that. They'll come. Have you? So one thing too, growing up, you obviously told us already that you grew up there in Alaska. You then moved on to Seattle when you were 13. That you said
Yeah.
13.
13, 14.
Did you go a lot to Mexico during that period of time?
And before I moved here,
Yeah.
I went there quite a bit. I actually just went there last year, or no, this year. This year, well, we spent New Year's there, so I guess both
Mhm.
last year and this year. And I came back in January, so yeah, I go there pretty often.
Play a
To
lot of
Mexico.
soccer there.
Sometimes not really. It's just to visit my grandparents, my mom's side of the family, and my dad's parents.
Yeah, I also well, actually, since I moved here, I went a lot to Brazil in the beginning,
Hmm.
especially because there was like Confederations Cup, World Cup going on.
Yeah.
Then I didn't go for a while, and when I would go, I would always actually try to play soccer there because there's so much pickup there, and I couldn't find as much in the United States. So that was what I had at
Yeah.
the time. But just in regards to that, hopefully you pick the United States one day. Hopefully you get an opportunity to play for the United States as well. And I'm sure both national teams will be calling you soon at the youth level for sure. But you still got a long career ahead of
Yeah.
yourself, and you definitely very well, how would I say, very mature for your age. And I'm sure you're going to make the right decision, whatever it is there.
Yeah.
Normally, I do ask the player which one they would pick, but you already gave your answer in a previous interview they had, I think last week. Was it? Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it was last week.
Yeah.
Last but not least, just to wrap up this interview here, which position are you more comfortable playing? Because we talked about how you played as a pocket 10, you played as an 8, you played as a 6. Is there a position that you see yourself long term? Either I'm better or I'm just more comfortable.
I would say right now I'm kind of playing more as a holding six. I would say
Mm-hmm.
what I've been playing, and I think I would like to play the 8, but since there's so many good players on the Sounders, like Christian again, Nico, Albert, that go forward, that means one of us has to stay. And I've been that guy that's like staying more, holding, making sure any balls that come out, I try to get them and give them back to them. But when I get older, get more minutes, become a starter, like established starter, I would like to play the 8 and go up and be that box to box midfielder, that can score goals, get assists, but also do the dirty work in the back, help defend. I think that would be the best position for me, or I would
Mm-hmm.
feel most comfortable.
Yeah, one thing to tell you too is about the 6th position or the holding midfielder.
Mhm.
If you look at the United States right now, we have been struggling for a while to find, well, someone that could challenge Tyler Adams,
Yeah.
and a backup, right? Because Kellyn Acosta usually is more of an 8, right? That's, well, I don't know if he's the best at his 8, but he usually played more in the Rapids, I believe, as an 8, not as a 6. So the 6 also, it's somewhat similar to what you're saying about the Sounders right now, that they need you more to be a 6 right now because of how many good players they have at the 8. The United States is packed at the 8, if you think about it, right? Weston, Yunus Musa, Gio Reyna could play there, Gianluca Busio, Luca Del Toro, so many, and the 6 isn't. So just a little hint right there.
That adaptability that will get me further. I would say being able to play different positions, being able to adapt to my teammates and what the team has, like, it will help me throughout the long run.
Now, just to close the interview here, the very last thing I want to ask you, very quick answer. You don't even have to explain it unless you want to. Is there a league in this world that you dream of playing one day? A specific league, just because of whatever reason? Like when I was a kid, even though I was terrible, my dream was always to play in like a Premier League. Because it was the league I guess I grew up watching along with the Brazilian league. Is there a league that you find charming or that you grew up maybe watching besides Liga MX, like maybe in Europe, a league that you dreamed of playing?
La Liga in Spain.
La Liga, technical league then.
La Liga.
Obed, thank you very much for being here. Anything else you want to add before you go?
Nope.
All right, so thank you very much, and I'll see you later. And everyone that watching, have a great day.